401. Roll call. Kevin Pazer.
Here remotely.
Paul Knopf.
Here.
Julie Georgie. Here. Christy Merritt. Here. Roger Rhodes.
Here.
Stu Summers.
Here.
Olga Granite here as well. Okay, do we have any public comments? Okay, moving on. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Paul. Jesse?
Yeah, just really quickly, the Friends had a issue with their spreadsheet. It's in the folder on their finances. And so the one you have in your packet is not accurate. It's a very complicated spreadsheet. We'll go over cost of truck now and fixed for the March meeting. And then for the director's report, I just want to thank our staff. They've done an outstanding job handling some pretty difficult and challenging conversations regarding this account policy changes. They've done a great job of navigating that. That really made a huge difference. We've been escalating it appropriately, updating messages we need to, but they've handled the brunt of it. They've done a great job. So just want to thank them.
Okay, anything else with the financial report?
So for the finance report, we were under budget by 2.5% in the month of January, or $180,000, $180,136. That is exactly where we landed last year in January. So we're right on target and on pace to be like we did last year. Revenue, we received $30,624 from Trust Indiana, and interest rates are dropping a touch, but not significantly enough to be concerned. It's been a pretty quiet month for the month of January. We were all busy doing our annual reports.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, let's take a vote to approve the consent agenda. Kevin Pazer.
Aye.
Paul Knopf.
Aye.
Julie Georgie. Aye. Christy Merritt. Aye. Roger Rhodes. Stu Summers.
Aye.
Olga Granite. Aye as well. Motion passes. Moving on to items for individual consideration. We're going to shift these around a little bit. So we're starting with item number 4, the CSK proposal.
Sure. So I'm going to request approval of the CSK proposal for the work to be done on the Portage renovation, including the roof, gutter, siding, and canopy reduction for the lump sum of $65,000. This will complete our expanded scope of work with CSK, and so if we should ever go out to bid in the future for other projects, we'll be free to go ahead and shop around for architect support.
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Julie. Any other discussion? Questions? Okay, so let's vote. Kevin Pazer.
Aye.
Paul Knopf.
Aye.
Julie Georgie. Aye. Christy Merritt. Aye. Roger Rhodes.
Aye.
Stu Summers.
Aye.
Olga Granite. Aye as well. Motion passes. We're going to move on to the next one. Internal controls resolution.
This is our annual affirmation for internal controls that are in place. These kind of affirms that every employee that starts, they have to take the internal controls training. We have a certification for them that gets filed and gets audited when they come out. So we have all this in good standing in the building. So I recommend this. So moved.
Thank you, Stu. Thank you, Roger. Any discussion? Okay, thanks for doing that. Okay, so Kevin Pazer.
Aye.
Paul Knopf.
Aye.
Julie Georgie. Aye. Christy Merritt. Aye. Roger Rhodes. Stu Summers.
Aye.
Olga Granite. Aye as well. Motion passes. Moving on to 6, elevator maintenance.
It's been brought to our attention that we need an oil change for our elevators. This should occur once every 10 years. As per our contract, we're only able to use Otis for this service, we discovered, but we did go out and shop around and get some agreements for other vendors in the area. We're with Otis until August of this year. We were able to negotiate with Otis and to get their price down to what below what the other vendor was going to be. So they gave us a 5% discount on it. And there is an additional discount of $1,000 per branch of the disposal of old oil. So what I would recommend is that the board approve the proposals for oil changes and oil disposal at Hebron, Portage, and Valpo. They're each $9,164.54 for the oil change $1,500 for the disposal fee, for a total of $31,993.62. And then additionally, I just want to make you aware that that's not actually the reason the elevator is down right now. When we were finding some screeching noises in the elevator, what we thought was because of the oil, they came out, one person rode on top, the other person was below controlling it. We discovered a broken bracket on the rails that have the elevator going up and down. We got lucky, they were able to find the part from the original one out in California. They overnighted it last night, so it should be here today, tomorrow, hopefully be installed on Friday. And it will cost us nothing because it's part of the maintenance agreement that Otis has, which is great. So hopefully by this week, we'll have the oil change, the bracket fixed, as well as the packing underneath, which degrades over time and is what's causing some of the noise that we're hearing in the elevator. So that should improve that, as well as the louder noise you hear as you go up and down as the engine works a little harder because of the old one. So by getting this at all three branches, we meet within that 10-year time period, and we're able to get ourselves good to go for the future. So I would recommend it.
A motion. So thank you, Julie. A second.
Second.
Thank you, Roger. Any discussion? Are they all due
We
right
are
now?
all due.
Overdue.
Overdue. Yes.
So you put them in your Google Calendar. Too.
Reminder.
What we're actually going to be doing is in the elevator room, like putting a maintenance posting in each of them, so that regardless of what happens with their computer file or staffing, we're going to know that it needs to be done. So we will never let it happen.
Surprised they didn't let you know that you were, they aren't keeping track either.
Well, I think it sounds like they may have, but they didn't communicate it very well to us.
Okay.
And so the technician that we have now does a much better job of it. And so we feel better with that, but I still feel it's time for us to shop around from Otis. They're kind of the big dog in the elevator industry. We've had some trouble getting responsive communications from them unless there's an emergency that's happening. And then they always, the first question, do you approve overtime? And so it's never a come out and help you. It's a, are you going to pay us? So if that's, everybody has to make money, but I'd like to find a more local company. There's a couple over in Lake County that we found that have been very responsive in the quoting process. We'd like to investigate, and I hope they'll have some proposals for you for our August meeting so we can be ready to look and see what's best for us. Otis doesn't actually either, and so they didn't call the manufacturer of it, but in our blueprints don't actually match what was installed. So that was broke from it. Probably got corrected. So yes.
Okay, I'd like to take a vote. Kevin Pazer,
Aye.
Paul Knopf,
Aye.
Julie Georgie, Chris Ramirez, Roger Rhodes, Stu Summers,
Aye.
Olga Granite, aye as well. Motion passes. We're going to move on to number 3 on your list, which is the Portage roofing project.
Just a brief update that the contractor, we picked this metal panel right here, if you recall at our last meeting, which is the most cost-effective option. The color swatch on top of it is the color it's going to be in. The contractor proposed to the architect the 2 samples that you see before you to the left of it, one being square and one is slightly more angular. They are recommending these panels because they're much more popular in the area.
Price is right.
And they're making it easier for us to do replacements in the future. They believe we'll be happy with that product than these. Looking at them, I can definitely see where they seem like they're gonna be less dent proof, for example. And they are on a facility up in
Less
Portage.
than or more than?
Less dent likely, excuse me.
Okay.
These are more rich.
More
Okay.
rigid, yeah. And so there was there's a building,
Jim and I,
thank you. It's a Head Start facility up in Portage on 6th that has these. My maintenance guy went up because he hates both of those. And then he went up and saw it in the building, and now he likes both of those because it looks really sharp on the building.
Did you look at it?
Certainly more interesting.
I think it's
good looking building from the design.
yeah. So I'm comfortable with either of those options. I don't know. We're leaning towards the square one unless somebody has a real passionate reason or thought process on it, but I'm just excited to move forward.
Yes.
Or structural engineering aspect is the most strongest. And it looks more like a library. But it's also.
Oh, I like that too.
Also really nice for spiders.
So we're scope friendly. Yeah. So unless anybody has any thoughts on it, I'll go forward with the square option that we've chosen.
Yeah, thank you. We don't need it.
No, that was just.
Yeah, we
information,
just,
really.
okay, wonderful, thank you. Yeah. All right, so moving on to the marketing report. Exciting. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Can you introduce yourself and then off you go?
So I'm McKenna, I'm the marketing coordinator. Do you want me up there? or-
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay.
And,
We'll have a presentation. It's in the board folder.
Whether you can
Just
sell
there.
that.
Okay. So drive.
Maybe get ready, Kevin.
A little bit, a little back.
Just, do you want me to start with the annual report or with the?
Let's start with the marketing report.
Okay.
Just lots of clicking. Okay, make sure.
Right there.
This one?
Okay.
Ta-da.
And then do you want me to present it or,
It's a PDF, so it should just be.
like share with the?
Yes,
share with the-
yes, that would be good.
I'm thinking back.
Nice job.
It's a far cry forward. We have a blackboard with schedule.
So, again, I'm McKenna, Patron marketing coordinator. So you've met me before, been here before, but here is the start of my presentation. These are a couple of the events that we attended in the last year. And then to start off is just the timeline so you can understand how our department's been developing over time. So back in 2022 was when the marketing team took on outreach events. Before that, that was when just any community partner that came and asked the library to attend an event, that branch just went to that event without any sort of oversight. So in 2022, we decided that attending a community event made sense for the marketing team to be in charge of that because we are essentially marketing ourselves at those moments. So we took that on, and our events, that was just when people were starting to get back into it from COVID. So it was kind of like almost like a rush of everybody wanting us to be at everything because everybody was excited just to be out and about again. So that year we just attended anything we were invited to, anything that the branches had always attended because we were just trying to see what was going on. In 2023, that's when we started actually being like, okay, this is a lot. So we attended a lot of things. It's a lot for us to staff. Also at the end of November 2023 was when I stepped up to be the marketing coordinator. So that's when I fully took on the role. So at the very end of the year there, so then last year, 2024, was when with Will's help, we started to really narrow down our events. So when I show you stats in a couple minutes, you'll see that we've slowly been lessening which ones we attend, not because we don't want to be there, but just because we're trying to be very smart about how we spend our staff time. Really looking at, that is a cost to actually send people to those events and what we take and making sure that that's the best fiscal responsibility for using our taxpayer money. So also last year, we started to kind of formulate what each event should look like. We identified that we want every time we attend an event for a patron to get the same experience at all those events across all the towns. So we're developing a kit that will happen at every single location instead of our lovely staff thinking of new things every time they go to a new place, right? So 2025, that's the goal for the year, is making everything much more consistent and really getting to a consistent number of events that we want to attend. With the exception of if somebody invites us to something that is brand new or that we haven't heard of, still leaving that space to analyze if that's somewhere we should be, but starting to be very clear about what our goals are. So in the next one, how we do that is through our evaluation process. So right now the process is that a patron or a community partner will contact either Willow, who does most of our community partnerships, or we'll reach out through the branches and they will submit a ticket to our team that someone's interested in us attending an event. And then our team then looks at what is the target audience of that event? Does it make sense for us to be there? Are we reaching the people we want to talk to? What does it cost for us to go? Is there a fee for us to attend? What materials do we want to take? So what's that going to cost? But the biggest question is, how are we going to promote the library there, and how are we going to drive the traffic back to the branch? So the biggest thing that we realized in the last year or so is we don't want to just attend an event and have a bunch of stuff out on a table and someone just walks by and picks up a bunch of free stuff. We do want to actually have a conversation with the public when we're there. And we do want to make sure that we're doing something that drives that traffic back to the branch, because that's what we really need as people here using our services. So we've been trying out different things that sometimes we give what we've been calling a PCPLS Discovery Pass. So if you see us at an event, we give you this ticket, you can come back to the library and trade that in for a small prize, things like that, so we can actually track that people come back to the branch for a reason. Otherwise, it's very hard for us to keep track of that stat of whether or not we've made a difference. So then we have our post-event evaluation. After event, that's when we analyze those things. The two biggest ideas that we've been looking at is engagement and visibility. Sorry. So with engagement, you know, like I just said, we really want to make sure that when we're at an event, we're having solid conversations, that we're sharing something new with the public, that we don't leave and be like, why did we just spend 3 hours at this event? We really know that we felt like we made a difference attending. And then also visibility. So really seeing the library's branding at an event. A very cool thing that I've seen the last couple of years, people actually come up to us at events and they say, I saw your blue tent and I had to come say hi. I love my library. And so often we hear that I love my library because they see it everywhere now. And also they know that library blue. They truly identify that as part of our team. So we don't want to attend an event unless we can really see that we are there and make it visible that the library is there. We've had experiences where we're at an event and some of those things didn't get brought, and then nobody really realizes what group we're with while we're talking. We realize they come up and like, oh, we're with the library. That we have to explain that means that we probably didn't set up as well as we could have. So we're working on that. And then this next slide is just showing you the super giant spreadsheet that I live in. Jesse wanted you to see how big our tool is that we use. So this is the 2024, but it's so small you can't read it. So we keep track of things on that. We keep track of the attendance. We keep track of who was organizing the event, what was the cost for sponsorship, booth, all those things. And then over here in this column that you can't really read is when I decide, are we going to attend that again next year? Are we going to adapt it and attend in a different way? Or for some reason, do we stop that and giving a reason? So we kind of keep track of those things that if anyone else were to step into my role, they would be able to step in and see what my thought process was and take that on. So that is what that is. And then this is kind of a better summary for you, so you don't have to read through all of that. So in 2023, we attended 49 events. You can see in 2024, we lowered that to 40. And right now I only have 29 plans. That's without any like schools or someone inviting us to last minute things, but these are events that we decided to keep. Also, you can see that we expected 16,400 in that year. We actually saw 21,127 people at events that year. In comparison, in 2024, we expected 17,052 and we got 17,964. So to me, that tells me that I did a better job of estimating. I understood what was going to happen a little better. And then also the big thing that's exciting to me is I dropped 9 events, but we kept our attendance up pretty well because some of those were rather big events for us, but we still kept it pretty high. And then our total event cost, that also lowered between the 2 years. So in 2023, we spent $7,406.22. In 2024, that lowered to $4,593.17. That actually, just so you know, that's calculating our sponsorship fees, booth parade fees, like the attendance fee to attend, and then also the additional materials. So that's not calculating staff attendance or our swag that we might have handed out because we haven't tracked that, but we are starting to track those things as well. And then based on that, our cost per attendee for how many people we saw was 34 cents and went down to 26 cents. So we're projecting that will continue to go down as we lower how many events we attend and as we get much more consistent with how we're attending, because some of those fees are things that our staff are really excited to bring something new. But as we start to be more consistent, we can identify what that cost will be ahead of time and not have surprise things they decide to take. So
How do you track or how do you gauge the actual attendance?
yeah, so at events, it's very similar to what we do with programming. So at every program, we have a people clicker.
Oh, you do?
Our staff stand outdoors and they click. So at an outreach event, that becomes a little different because there's just crowds of people, right? So our staff have a clicker, and anytime someone comes up and talks to us or stops and says hi, that's a click.
It's not the number of people at the popcorn.
No, we also don't count parades at all anymore. We identified that a couple of years ago that it's impossible to track parades. So this is not a kidding parade. Yeah, that would really inflate my numbers. But no, it's really who stops and has a conversation with us. So
it's not just a walk by.
Yeah. And in the past, there was a few where it was just a vague estimate. So now we know that that's the clicker. And those get sent into my team, and then we submit that stat to Haley, and it goes into Libra for all of you to see. So, yeah. Any other questions? Okay. And then cut events. So, Jesse wanted me to just give a few examples of things I cut and why, because I've slowly been going through this and picking them out. The biggest one you'll see is the Porter County Fair. That was something we identified last year. I was very excited in 2023. We actually got a ribbon, which you'll see in the displayed out there. We got a ribbon for most interactive, most interactive display, because we had people sitting and actually doing story times with us. It was great. And then in 2024, we really struggled to staff it this last year. It takes 4 people a day for 10 days. So it's 40 people total. And so that alone, if you added up their, how much it costs to pay them to be there is a big cost, as well as our booth. We do a 2-booth space. That's $1,000. On top of that, they're now charging us to actually our attendants to walk in the building. So that's $80 more. And it just goes up from there. If you were to add on the swag we hand out and all of that, just for our actual interactions tend to be a lot of people who aren't patrons. They're people from outside of the county,
right?
Which was very surprising to me. So we've identified that doesn't make sense for us to continue anymore because it's very high cost for us without a high enough impact. Similarly, Hebrew Movies in the Park, that has had lower and lower attendance the past couple of years. Also, they've added in bright lights that make the movie not great, so less people are coming. So we've identified that that's one that we used to actually sponsor. We've decided to stop doing that. And doing on a few of these events, they're ones that we just couldn't find a way to track whether or not it was helpful or successful. The chocolate walk, only 400 people get to actually attend. So that limits how many people we can actually see. We never see that many because they don't come all the way to the library. And it's just not worth our time to walk to end Alzheimer's. Those people are busy walking. They don't stop and have a conversation with us. So we've identified that doesn't make sense to continue.
I can't remember to come back.
Right.
I'm gonna get that comment.
And then these larger ones, these are more of our staffing costs. So the Market on the Square, that's the Portage Movie Nights. We started attending that because we had such success at the Valpo Downtown Movie Nights, and we actually had patrons ask us to attend it. But their event is so much longer, so that for us to staff it, it takes, again, 4 people for an event that starts at like 3 o'clock and goes till 9. And we just every year struggle to get the staff scheduled for it. And Bacon Fest is very similar. It's pretty much the same setup that we end up having few shifts of people with not as much of a turnout. Even though we thought that would be the same as Pork Fest and Popcorn Fest that we do have success at, we decided that wasn't the best setup for our team. And then South Haven 4th of July Parade we have 3 4th of July parades we attend. That's one of the 3. And they all end up happening on the same day. We're stacking 3 parades on the same day. It's not great. That is the smallest one. Our team usually are one of the only few walking groups, and we end up running to catch up with the cars. So it's just decided that is not the best setup for us. So things like that where it makes sense logistically for us to cut them, as well as analyzing whether or not we're reaching people parades are still a big thing that Willow and I go back and forth every time we talk about them, because we identify that that's a big moment for visibility, but it takes a lot of staff. Ideally, it's 11 people per parade. We never get there. It's usually 6 or less. But also, how can you tell that you've got to those people at a parade? Most of them, you're not supposed to pass things out as much anymore, so we can't even hand them things. We no longer pass out candy at parades, if you know that, because I was buying tons and tons of candy every year, and every time I just felt like it was so silly to be buying that much candy just for it to go into someone's hand without them even remembering who gave it to them. So now we use bubble guns and we spray bubbles. We did a test. We did half candy, half bubbles, our first one. And the kids were so excited about the bubbles, they didn't even notice we were handing out candy. So that was really cool. So we no longer do that. So that's part of why our costs went down. But lots of things like that, trying to really think about where we're spending the money and why, and whether that's actually benefiting us. So, and then the next slide, Haley. This is user data. So this is the really fun part, the geeky part. So we're really trying to dig into how are we affecting these stats. Our branch traffic, you can see that Valpo has great branch traffic. Portage actually has higher population. So we would love to get involved in Portage more so that we can help try to up that branch traffic. Similarly, South Haven is doing much better than the other 3 branches. We continue to push through Couts and Hebron to try to get our face out there more, to get more people into the branch. Over here, this one you'll see is a little bit different than things you might have seen before. We actually got Elizabeth and Inga to go pull up our normal cardholder stat, and we cut out the people who may have a very old card and have never been in. So this is a more precise of people who are really involved at the library. So that changed our stats that we actually have. I wrote this down so I said it correctly. This is showing that this overall is 152,580 people. And then total card holders out of that is 28,855. And then our active is 21,591. So this lets you see that we have 19% that have cards of our total service area. And then the equivalent people who have a similar size library than us, the average for them is a 25% coverage. And the suggested by PLA is to have a 30% coverage. So we're still under both of those. We think that doing these outreach events and other marketing things are something that will help pull that up a little bit. So our goal ideally would love to get to the 30%, at least closer to 25. So that's what that is, what all that means.
Can I ask you a quick question? Yeah. I don't know the class, so that says PLA average, right?
Yes.
Do we know, are they using the same standard of activity as we are? Or are they counting the cards?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm just
that
curious.
I think maybe one of you gave that to Willow that I put it in, so I'm not quite sure where it is.
I'll go back and see.
So, but yeah, we can pull it up. So I think so. That's just our explanation. But yeah, so basically what I think is very interesting is that I still think we could bump this up a little bit more. And I think the way we do that is by going out into the public and getting to see them. My favorite event that we attend is the World Cultural Festival downtown in Valparaiso. That's because every time I go to that event, I have so many different families that I meet who have just come to the area, who are immigrants, who have so many different cultures, and they stop by and they're like, oh, I didn't know that the library offers these things, or how can the library help me with this? And we really have a lot of interesting conversations. I would like to continue to find events like that where we truly are reaching people who don't come into the library, who would really benefit from our resources. So that is what I think we could improve. And then this lovely map is something that Jessie checks rather often. It is all these red dots are card holders in our area, so you can see where they are and where they're spread out. The closer you get, you can see which houses and get even more precise about how far they are from the library. If you were to zoom in onto like the Valpo branch, if you get close enough, it's very surprising how many houses near the library don't have a card holder. So you would think they live so close to the branch, they should be using their library. So we would like to continue to improve that. So we know that there's opportunity for growth, and we would really like to see some. So yeah.
And I'll add that one in the corner there that I do check it frequently. It takes our circulation data and it provides a large dot for a power user. And the smaller the dot means the less frequently you use it.
Oh, so
And
you even rate?
It does.
We're judged.
We're judged on your ability. And what it shows though, and what really struck me the first time I looked at it was actually Couts, because we were trying to think about what's going on in Couts. And there are whole neighborhoods that may have 2 small dots, and that's it. All of their houses have nothing. And then you get to one house and it's got like the biggest dot in the county. It's a power user, somebody who comes in and checks out 150 books a week kind of people. It's homeschool families. It's very large, active, engaging. So you've got a couple of pockets and then you got these little teensy dots. That means they came in once and they haven't seen the value perhaps to keep coming back in, or we're just not fresh in their minds. And so partnering these outreach things with the marketing efforts kind of helps us try to get as many of those folks stay fresh in their mind and keep driving them back in so that we can start to move towards more small and moderate dots from the almost non-existent ones and adding more dots into these coverage areas.
I recall a couple of years ago, we got a program where we were going to go out to the schools, and if you had a student ID card, we'd give you a library card and somehow make that interchangeable. Have you pursued that? It seemed to me a marketing technique, like door hanging in the neighborhood.
We have a program called Book a Librarian, so the schools and teachers can request us to come into the classroom. We don't do actual library card registrations in a classroom setting. That is because with parental permissions, it gets a little complicated.
Sure.
We eventually identified that, but we do go into the schools quite often through that. That is, we consider that an outside library program, which is just that because of the way the state identifies them. So Ashley's team, the programming really covers that more, but we are very involved with the marketing that they take into the schools. So we create the flyers and things that they take, but their team handles that. So none of this stat is about that. It's more of, if the PTO was going to put on an event and invite us, then that's considered one of our outreach events.
We do go to all the schools
Yes.
throughout the county. So Willow and I start with the superintendents. I start with superintendent. Superintendent invites us in, generally speaking, to a principal meeting. And so that's where Willow and I will come in. We start with the top down, trying to get everybody on board on what initiatives. Christy was great and set us up with Portage. Portage is our tightest connection school district wise right now. They buy into what we're doing. We have a full connection. And so we push as much as they're willing to do. The actual get a card in every kid's hand, it's challenging because of the rules that schools have and us trying to maintain that parental permission. And so we had for a time, and we're on Portage and Valpo's applications every year. Did you get a library card, or would you like a library card? It links out to us. And for a time, they would come in. The impact was smaller and how many actually came back in for the cards. There's just so much that's happening in that point. But we definitely try it. And I like the way that Portage does it now is that it's one of the school supply items is a library card.
Oh.
So I thought that was a nice way to get around not needing parental information, not needing to have links and pop-outs during a challenging registration process.
Consider giving them cards that weren't activated. And then they could bring it out their parents.
It's got to be that parental component is the biggest key. Got to have them come in.
Yeah, but like in kindergarten, roundup packets or something.
Jesse, do you go every year to each school or is that, how is
As
that?
many as we possibly can. So again, we start with the supers. And so I don't go to the supers every year. It's kind of in the every other year. It seems to be we kind of have to have a touch base.
Okay.
And then a lot of it is pushing information because they got a lot going on already. That's where the book of librarian comes in. And so they share, and I'll say the administrators in all the school districts seem to appreciate it. They share it out, or folks that are on our board share it out. And then those teachers who want it can request this and will come in for it. We certainly ask and we're willing to go in for everything, especially when we get towards summer reading time. It's kind of the big time. So it's back to school and then it's that summer reading window. We don't have the staff to go to every classroom in the county. It's just, there's just too many. But I'll say that we're in every district in some capacity. And then usually it's up to the superintendent and the principal, how deep they want that connection to be. Some want it to be with the school media specialists if they have them. Some want it to be actually in the classroom. Some like us in front of whole assemblies where they bring it in. So it's really, that's where the book library tool is nice because it allows us to tailor it to the individual school, even down to the teacher, what we can do to help them. And that may be a presentation on summer reading. It could be something on genealogy. It could be a Lego time or an activity or a book club or anything that they'd like.
And it's called Book a Librarian. Does it need to be someone with a library science degree or, okay.
No, we just put it as book a librarian, but we keep it generic enough to where they submit their request. They don't ask for anybody in particular. They're asking for a service or something that we can offer. And then that allows our team to pick who's the best person. Is it a systems representative? Is it a person out at the branches?
But the oversight of that service, the book librarian service is his credentialed library.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
And that is, the book librarian service is, we've made it kind of like an a la carte service now. So there are like 5 different types of programs that we offer. So a teacher doesn't just come and say, oh, I want the library to come, but I don't know what I want them to do. We give them 5 options because we used to just have it fully open-ended and that turned into us doing a ton of different research work for them. We do still do that if they ask, but now we give them better suggestions that we know we can provide. And also we turn into the middle of your annual report packet, the community engagement page does have our outreach stats and our book librarian stats for that year. We do keep them separate. So book librarian, 207 visits. That's how many classrooms we went to. It also can include Girl Scouts, whichever group reached out to us through that service. And then they reached 7,204 kids. So
that's in addition to what Willem and I are doing. That's not actually counted in here.
Right.
We're the ones, and as are the branch managers, Jack in South County next. We've gone to both Hebron and East Portage School Corps, Boone Grove as well to pitch the other things that we can do, whether it's resources, whether it's connections to our electronic resources, whatever partnerships may be, we do that additionally.
And then whenever we go into the schools, we are working towards seasonal marketing. We continue to move that forward. So we have seasonal things that we want to advertise. So that's what Ashton takes every time they go into a school, is the tools that we've already created to pass out at the branches as well. So.
But I see what you're not going to this year. Do you somewhere in something in here that has all the 29 events that we will be at?
I can provide that. It's a big spreadsheet, but it's not. Yeah, it's not on here. It's not there.
I'd love to see.
Yeah, you would probably Yeah.
Okay, maybe in the next time. And then that we will have it. And if anything is added, there's you can just add it. Thank you.
Jesse, back to the library card I mean, you can get a library card online, so could it be something that you could request the superintendents? Because
we have and they do, however, you still have to come physically to the library.
Yeah.
That's the hiccup. So in some communities, the kids just get a library card, and that can cause a lot of trouble because the parent doesn't want their kid. So we're trying to respect parental choice in this process, and so you have to physically be present with that child to be able to get the full.
well, for those of us in the room with kids in school, I mean, we get emails, and I mean, to the point where, is your daughter, are you Valpo?
No,
But we get emails about like, what's the lunch special this week? Like, I don't.
Hey, I care about that.
I don't.
What I'll say is they put us out in those emails as well. East Portage just put one out recently to the library, and I know Portage does as well. And so we provide the information to them and request it, and then they generally will put it in there. But again, it's varied between the
The
lunch
leadership
specials.
team within each school needs to basically opt in and say, we want this in the.
Okay.
Which is why it's so
In the
important to start the
e-blast, yeah.
superintendent, because if you've got buy-in from the chief,
Yeah.
then it makes it a lot easier.
And maybe it's something you do at the first of the calendar year instead of the first of the school year. You know, and dad are sick of the kids being in the house. Just get them out.
Are all the Valley Party families library card holders now?
Not necessarily.
Have you thought about that?
You're not allowed to. That's part of the Valley provisions.
Some thought about it, so
I tried. That was my first question, is can we take that and market to those individuals for it? The closest that we can get, and I've got it worked out with Bill where we will, is on the books return address level. It will say something along the lines of, are you interested in getting a library card? but we've only got like 2 lines, so we can put just a little bit in there, but it's gotta be generic enough for both us and Westchester. But that's where we can do it. We can do it for a couple of months only on the book. There's nothing else allowed to go to.
Well, and then you can find out if those homes are big dots or small dots. Because Dolly Parton is up for renewal by the state legislature, and there's going to be a fight over it. Someone's going to have to decide, is it worthwhile to fund it? Oh, I apologize.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Another cool thing that reminded me of, we have started a partnership with the Valpo Kiwanis that we do pass out to every baby born at which hospital, Willow? The bus, yeah, that we pass out. It's a flyer that has Dolly on one side, on the other side it says, give the gift of a library card to your child, and has a QR code to go start the registration process as well. So
I'll be pushing Dolly to the full membership if you want something next month or 2.
yeah, does anybody have any more questions about that?
Yeah, I will. I think they said May, so April, May is what I wanted. I haven't come back again yet, so.
Just really quickly, I was very impressed with the spreadsheet, the data behind these programming initiatives are really wonderful, but it's nice to have the data, and it's nice to see how you're fluctuating between what works, what doesn't, and like you said, it's like somebody could easily go and see what's going on. So thank you, I appreciate that. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and this gave me thank you for asking. This gave me a really good opportunity to really look at, reanalyze what have I been doing the last few years and why did I do it? Gave me that moment to rethink about it, and it's a good thing to start the new year with. So thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. And then I can go into annual report cards, Bill, if you want.
Yes.
So do you want to do that?
And they've all got it in front of them too.
Oh, that's weird.
Electronic signatures.
No way.
Yeah, you're right for the viewers at home.
Is anyone on?
Well, they can do it remotely at a later point as well. So we have had views after the meeting.
It's fun. Maybe it's too big.
Let's see, just download it.
Yeah, I had it downloaded at home too, so.
Yeah,
because it's big.
It turned out into a really big file this year. Every year it is, but for some reason this one's not down.
Yeah, but I.
Oh, look, we had downloaded last year too.
Oh, there you go. Things happen. So you'll notice with this year's report that it looks very similar to last year's. That is by design. We are trying to be more consistent with it, so it's not a whole new project every year for a team, but also so you know what you're looking for when you look at it every year. You know what to expect. So
Yeah, I'm trying to get it so we can just see it like as a page. Minimize.
or you minus here. There you go. Put it a little bit back. There you go. So I'm just going to highlight a few good things because a lot of it's very similar to last year. But obviously, my favorite page is always the patron comments on the very first page. I like reading what they do. I actually am the person who pulls those reviews from Google every year, all year. So it's fun to compile them to the ones that that made me giggle or that I saw that I really liked. I was a little sad to delete my favorite one this year, but they're all the new ones. And then on your very next page, that's also probably the most important page because that shows you our branch traffic in a visual way. So you can tell that like Valpo branch has more than half of our traffic from all our branches. Portage is the next biggest, and from there how it goes down. And then our digital circulation this year has actually almost surpassed our physical circulation. So it's very interesting. Last year when I made this report, our digital circulation had just surpassed Valpo alone. And now it's gone beyond all of them almost. Still got a little bit farther to go, but that's been very interesting to watch. We also did update this stat to be similar to that graph that I showed you. So 28,000 versus normally we say 64,000. A lot of those are cards that are dead and not being used anymore. So we aren't counting those.
How long for it to be considered dead and not used?
So this last year we pushed out a renewal. So this stat is from the beginning of January of 2024. So we just counted 2024 that they were renewed since then. So we could go back a little farther, but we wanted to really be more clear about who's actually using the library. So, and then you can Services page, nothing too big except those, I added a few more services that were highlighted last year. As well as we changed the way we looked at this stat. We decided that the calculator that we were using previously was inflating the number too much. So this is true stats that based on our estimates for like how much a book costs and things like that. This is $9,702,938 would have been saved just from what people borrowed from the library.
There used to be a calculator that was created by a library system out on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And that library had, it was designed as a advocacy tool for libraries to use to show an individual how they could calculate how much they're saving. And so it had all these highlight areas. You could enter your stats in and it would pop out a number. And that's what most libraries throughout the country have used for a very long time. But what we wanted to do was really identify, are those true numbers or not? And we felt that a lot of them are fairly inflated for what we're trying to do. We want to show legitimate taxpayer savings. And so supportable numbers. That's what I kept saying this time is, I don't care that the number is less. I just care that it's repeatable. And we want something that if a patron asks, how did you come up with $9 million?
Yeah.
We can say, well, this is the average cost of a book times this. This is the average cost of an ebook times this. This is what you get. And we didn't want to add in things like a $50 meeting room rental, even though meeting rooms are very used. And so that's why we said, you know, just imagine how much you could borrow or you could save by using the other services as well. So that really is just the borrowing that's on there.
And then the next page just goes into our inclusion accessibility. We identified last year that's obviously very important to our library. So we wanted to highlight the things that we've been moving forward. This list got longer this year, so that was really exciting to see adding things that we're doing that are very focused on inclusion. So yeah, Read to Cover Dog, that's our Pause to Read program. Caleb, he's very sweet.
It is Caleb.
Yeah, it is
I've met
Caleb,
Caleb
yes.
before at other places.
Yes, he's wonderful. You can see he's right here. There's a few, he's actually hidden in a couple pages here. Okay. I just love the photos of him. But this is what he does. He just lays and listens to the girls reading, whoever's reading to him. So he's very wonderful. And then highlighting how all of our gardens are accessible. You can get a wheelchair through them. And then this is our early intervention play group that's called Books, Blocks, Balls. They changed the way the bees are organized this year. So that program is just a play group where families can bring in their kids, and we have specialists there who can identify if they're, you know, early autism, anything like that, as well as just answer any questions that a parent might have about development. So that's been a very great program as well. So, and our partners will help with those. Then the next one.
Before we go on is one that Will and I have been involved in since they even came up with the concept. And so we're kind of founding members in how the Portage County Community Foundation supported that group and really grew it. And so it's really nice to see it come to fruition.
Yeah, just a bunch of partners working together, OE, First Things First.
Exactly.
And, Kids Works is the early intervention specialist that we work with, but there's also some other.
That's so. When you look at some of those inclusion partners on here, they're pretty deep partnerships.
Yes.
Partnerships with OE are very intense. We go to them, they come to us, a lot of things that we're doing. Same with First Things First, Portage County, Portage County Community Foundation. These are really truly core partners that we do a lot with.
So both of the international centers too. That's where I said that World Cultural Fest, but also like there was a group that wanted to do an international doll day program, and Will and I were a little unsure with how they were approaching different cultures, and we were able to talk to them about what they think and what their experience was. So those are the other things that those partners kind of work with to make sure that we're being inclusive of everyone and that we're approaching different conversations the right way as well. So. And then this one is showing you again why Evergreen and Indiana Digital Library are so great for us. So the blue is what PCPLS owns. The green is what our patrons can access. So it makes it so much greater. And then got like a quote of why patrons love it. And then the next page, this is what most of our staff like to see and what books are checked out the most for the year. So this year I did add in graphic novels because graphic novels have grown so much. So you have children's books, young adult, graphic novels, and then adult was split into fiction, nonfiction, because we did have quite a few more nonfiction checkouts this year. So got a nice overview. And then this gets into more of what Ashley, Will, and I are involved in. So our programming, we had 1,089 programs this year. That averages to about 91 a month and 26,350 attendees. So it's a lot of people. And then our reading programs this year did well as well. We're still wanting to grow them, but getting everybody to see. So that page. And then the next page is what we were talking about a little bit ago of community engagement. So just getting a snapshot of the things that we do in our community. We really are very involved in the Porter County community. We have story walks all across Porter County still. We're also doing the book librarian program, as well as this picture is actually our Storytime in the Park program at the Portage Parks. And then the parades and things.
For the story walk, just so you know, we are adding a story walk in Hebron, which we had talked about with the gardens. We don't have space for the gardens. So the Friends of the Library actually purchased a collection of 20 storyboards for us, and they're going to be installed at one of the Hebron parks. Right behind their police station, they have a little park area that's kind of in a residential area that they're wanting to enhance. And so we're giving them the boards. They're going to install and maintain the boards, and then we'll swap out the stories. So it's a really nice way to partnership. So now we'll have them North County all the way to South County and in
I
between.
think that'll put us at a total of 7 story walks. So our team we design each of those with little captions to help facilitate conversations with families that go page to page. We design them with the library logo and print them and install them ourselves as well. So
How often does that get changed?
seasonally, so 4 times a year.
And is it the same at all 7 locations?
No, it's a different story at
Oh,
every
good
location.
heavens.
Yes, yes.
Eventually, the goal is what we'll do is we'll rotate the stories between them.
Oh, yeah, that'll,
So one,
that would be a good idea.
Yes.
That's a lot of.
It is a lot, yes.
so once you get them set and established, then we can print and rotate around.
Okay, yeah.
They-
Because they're all the same size and.
Yeah.
They are, they're all
That's
standard.
good.
The problem that we ran into, we didn't realize this at the Rotary Gardens, so we didn't do enough boards out here. They're very small, and so you can't actually fit a children's book out there. The other ones, we all make sure they have at least in that 20 range, and that way we can swap them out and
Yeah.
rotate
And
them out.
that was only 10, so this can show you how.
Where's the 7th? Is it the 5 and then Sunset Hills?
Sunset Hills Farm.
Butterfly Meadows Park is the other one. Yeah, and the Butterfly Meadows one, that's a partnership with Valparaiso Parks. So those stories are always different. That's actually a community partnership. They've decided will always be a local storybook author.
Oh, okay.
So they pick the book and give it to us. We design it and they install it. And then Porter County Parks, we just do something very park and outdoorsy there. So when we install them, they actually get really faded and damaged throughout the time that they're out there. So it'll always be that we'll have to reprint them every year, but we can start to get a selection that we can just reprint the same design. We do add in marketing to at least a page or 2 of every design. Usually, did you like this book? Here's some other books. You can come in and get a library card to check these out. So we use those as a marketing opportunity as well. So
We also partner with local schools. I know Alice is very excited for their garden. And we did this with Girl Scouts here.
Yes, we have
partnered
one.
with librarians. They would write and then illustrate, and then we would publish their little book for them. And so we've been wanting to take this to all the schools. Now that we'll have gardens and all the major ones will be able to do that. So
Yeah.
we're partnering library employee with English and art.
And then the Portage schools, also, they played around with a temporary story walk idea. So they worked with us to design one that could go on the yard signs. They could hang in their hallways or outside when the weather's nice, and they swapped it around to different schools.
and
So our partnerships have really allowed us to like kind of play around with
Yeah.
that.
And we've even taken those to a couple outreach events when it made sense with the community partner that we put them out. So the Dunes Lit Fest that we had a couple years ago, it's not happening this year, but we put them all out at both of their events so that people could walk through it, and that has library's logo everywhere as well. So they identify that we put it there, not the event overall as well. So
And just so you understand the process, when we get these books, we're required to cut the books up and paste them out. So that we have to actually destroy that title, which is fine. So we buy extra copies, we get it all set up. What we do then is we scan the titles, and then we can make the alterations as necessary to be able to print them. We used to shop that out, but it was very expensive when we first got one. So we bought a large format printer and a large format laminator, decreasing the cost down significantly. And now we can print it on demand. And we have that set up now at our Portage branch. We have the set up here at Valpo so that we can enable staff members to be centrally kind of edited and prepared, and then can be printed in the facilities to be able to go out.
Yeah, so so shortly here we'll be training Portage staff to then print and laminate for us as well, so we can roll that out faster, but our team will still be the ones scanning, cutting, designing.
And adding prompts.
It's kind of a nice watermark, I think, when you go out and swap it, you clean the words, stick it in there. And
Yeah, it depends. Okay.
Depends on-
The still did not get switched out this winter because the snow came and then it went away and we almost did it and then it came again and then it was just cold. So that one is
Next
still
Monday.
there. Yes.
Just
Yeah.
tell me, the snow doesn't
I'll
bother.
give you some cross-country skiing.
Yeah,
That's right.
And that one's actually a pretty big trail if you ever go out to it. That's like all the way around their ponds. And
We
their
learned
homes,
some lessons.
Yeah. Little too, not quite such big jump.
Well, we did it based off of can they see the next board, because we wanted to go the full loop, not recognizing that most kids on it are this big and that they can see it. By the time they get there, they want to nap. And so it's great for the joggers and the people who are super fit. Other folks, they kind of go to a couple, and I think regardless.
Maybe have more of an adult.
Yeah, he's.
Maybe you could put like on the third or fourth one. Tired of walking? Get a library card.
Jumping jacks.
I love that here's the link to the book.
Here's how you pick up where you left off.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I mean, let's do this and go get ice cream. Come on, let's do that.
So your next big page spread, we actually did that 2 pages this year, so that is new. We identified that's obviously the biggest thing that we did in the last year was adding 2 more gardens. This is just half of it. There's another page. So the first side shows you all 3 that that currently are installed and you can walk and see. And my favorite one is South Haven and the little girl jumping on our steps.
I'm sorry, I just saw like the girls.
Yeah, she's like fully in the hair.
Yes,
I do have pictures of her every one. She fully bounces into the air every step. So
we also have a spot to how to contribute. We're
Yes.
still trying to drive funds there. So if you guys send this out, I encourage you guys to send this to whoever your appointing authority was and anybody that you'd be interested in stakeholder wise. We're willing and happy to accept contributions to the garden still.
yep, and it shows you 2 which 2 are still coming in the next year. We hope Krauts will be ready in spring and Hebron in the summer. So and that still again tells them that those are coming and that we're excited for contributions to grow them as well. So then page, all the numbers. So you can see our revenue and expenses. The main thing that I understand from this page, because I'm not a numbers person, that I was really proud of Haley for is that our per capita tax expenditure and our per capita tax levy are so close this year. So that was really exciting to see that last year it was a few dollars and now it's in the cents.
Yeah,
So
since Jesse and I started doing the zero-based budgeting when we got here, that number has gotten closer and closer and closer, and that is the goal. We want to make sure that we're spending what we're getting, not going over and being, not asking for too
I'd say
much.
you're about as close as you could possibly
Yeah,
get.
last year we were super close.
yeah, but
it was
we're
good.
even closer now.
Yeah.
So, yep, so that's cool.
Very impressive.
Mhm. And then the next one is focused on our volunteers and our donations. So this is where we always thank the Friends for all their support, as well as all of our other volunteers who donated 1,050 hours last year. And there's 157 Friends members this year. So we thank them for their donation. And then down here you can see our costs and what we got donated this year. We also noted that we did receive 700,000 from ARPA previously for the gardens that are still in construction. So we didn't get that money this year, but we want to make sure that we thank them as well. So, and then the next page is Lila's favorite page. So this is all of our community partners. So it is a lot of crazy logos to check every year. This year we really did sit through and check all of them. We have done one thing with each of them actively in the last year. So our team is very, very involved in the community. Like I said, these are all the people that we work with all year long in some capacity.
You send each of that.
Yes, that's the plan. We have not done that previously, but this year when I was going through it, I was like, now that we know for sure.
Yeah, and they're
We should thank
partnerships
them
that
fully.
benefit both parties. So
Mhm.
2024 was a year where we also did some really difficult, kind of decision making as far as, is this a real partnership? Where it's benefiting both.
Yes, we both get something out of it and help our community together. So, and then up here, that's any businesses that donated either to our summer reading program, snacks for a program, anything like that. So we make sure to thank them as well. Designer Desserts gives our snacks their leftover cupcakes, or staff their leftover cupcakes all the time for snacks.
So there's
So
only
they
3 ice cream places.
Only 3.
So
Right.
Casey's donates a lot for the events too.
Family Express.
Family Express. If you were to go into our staff break room, we still have stacks of water that they donated for us that we use for programs. So that's really great. And then at the end, we just thank everybody for an amazing year. And on the very back of your page this year, we made sure to add all of your names as well. So, and that is the end of all of it. Any thoughts, questions, concerns, anything that I messed up?
We encourage you guys to send these out to anybody that should be interested. We have the electronic copies. We'll have some nicer printed copies available as well.
When will they be available?
As soon as you guys would
Yeah,
like.
whenever you like them, I can print more. We are printing this fully in-house now. We have printed it out 2 years ago. Last year tested, we printed them in-house. Now we'll print in-house this year. It also will be uploaded to the website, so you can always direct people to the PCPLS board page, like that on the website. If you scroll down to boards and reports, that's where every policy report is. If you click on that button, so all of them are there.
You can have an extra.
Yeah, I know more. Amy has a bunch on her desk too, if you would like.
It's like
to.
Girl Scout cookies, you have to fill out your order.
These are official, ready to go.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Very nice job. You did some nerves at all?
Thank you. You had to say a few times.
I didn't notice that.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing.
Yeah, I think we'll sneak out.
Any other items that we?
I'm gonna go underneath the camera.
Okay, then, let's see. I think we're gonna adjourn this meeting. It's 5:03. We have a motion to adjourn the meeting. So moved. Thank you, Christy. A second? Thank you, Paul. I'll take a roll call. Kevin Pacer?
Oh. I said no.
And we got to start slowing them down.
Yeah.
I like this.
Kevin indicated
I'll say
today.
yes.
Paula? Julie Georgie?
Aye.
Christy Merritt?
Aye.
Roger Rhodes? And Olga Granite, I as well. Meeting adjourned. A great meeting. Thank you.
Okay, let's go ahead and get our. Thanks,
Bye,
Kevin. Have a great night.
Okay, wait, dismiss.
Now that we aren't live anymore.
Oh, wait, yes.
We're still alive.
Got that one.
do you want to talk about Kevin?